All right, you fellow knob tweakers. All right, so this is the Hallicrafters SX42, and on the AM broadcast band, band 1, you can get it in really accurately. What I did was I had one of these. This is a tuning cap here. You tune it here. Get it, and you can go all the way around with this. This will go all the way around, and the coil has a pretty big slug in it, and you tune that in and out. Now, what was happening was the ratio of the. Remember, I told you in one of the videos, you want to get the 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 dial goes to the end, it hits a hard stop, but yet there's still a little bit of space on the tuning cap. What you want to do is as you go to each end stop and hit, you want to have about the same amount of capacitance left over on each end, or I won't say capacitance left over, I'll say leeway. So say it has an eighth of an inch before it bottoms out or tops out. You're going to hit the hard stop before it bottoms out or tops out. So you gotta center it. See, they probably had a system when they put these things together. See, this radio has had so many people's hands in it, especially that unit, the clockwork unit for the band spread tuning and all that. That was all bodged with super glue and grease and all kinds of things. Now I noticed someone had changed the dial cord, so that's a dead giveaway. Somebody's been in there. I also saw a video where somebody else had a broken gear and it was slipping or sliding because it had cracked. That's why I didn't want to buy the one that was on eBay for almost $100 after everything. Anyway, back to I changed the capacitor from this kind here to this type. And this type, when you look at it, yeah, I did cut my nails. You can basically, if you remember, you can righty tighty, lefty loosey. There's no, when you touch, you want to go a little bit more. You don't get lost. If you accidentally go the wrong way with this, you're screwed because it can go past the end, and you really can't tell where the end is. Now, it might have had a stop and it got broken by someone. I don't know, but I put one of these in. It originally had a 4 picofarad to 20. I put in an 8 to 40 picofarad, which is one of these. I got a whole boatload of these. Put one of these in, and then I brought the slug out of the oscillator. I brought it out towards the back a little bit. It started there, and then I went back and forth. Before the slug was in the coil, flush with the bottom, I said, let me start from scratch. And I went back and forth, and slowly everything worked into position, and I got it very close. I got to go back and redo my soldering, my capacitor, but yes, you can make this dial very accurate. And that's what I want to see on all my radios. You know, I don't really like a radio where, you know, I want to tune in, let's just say Canada 740 Zoomer radio. I don't want to accidentally be on there, because at night you have DX and you got stations that aren't there during the day. So when you go looking for the station you want, there's other ones there that are skipping in from somewhere else, and you tune it in, and then it goes on commercial break and you find out you missed it. You're not really on it. But when you have a dial that's accurate, you turn it to 740 and you got a carrier, you're pretty sure that's the one, and then you tune it in as best you can. It's on. You wait for the station ID or the music. In the case of Zoomer Radio, they play rock and roll. 70s at 7 o'clock, 80s at 8 o'clock. And on the weekend, they play big band music and stuff like that. It's a very different kind of station. But the three things I did was I had realized that there's no flat spot on the tuning capacitor. And you got to make sure the band spread capacitor is in its neutral position. And neutral position is the vanes up. You got to read up on this. This is not a normal band spread tuning capacitor. It's zero position or when the vanes are up above. That's because in one direction it does 80 meter band spread, and the other one that does 40. You might do other ones, but in other words, in the middle, it's neutral, no capacitance. So you have that, you know that's neutral. You tighten up your flexible coupling. So after you hit the hard stop in both directions, you have the same amount of leeway left in the main tuning cap. That's where you start. And then you start the coil, you bring it out just a little bit past the bottom, and you start working back and forth. You do a bottom frequency first. In my case, I think it was 830 or 820. Anyway, you do 820, you're done. Then you go up to the top end and do 1600. And this radio does pick up 1600 on band 1. It does a much better job on band number 2. But tonight is all about comparing this radio to that other one last night. The other one wouldn't get WABC, and it wouldn't get Zoomer radio. So I'm leaving this. I'm pretty sure this did like a really great job the other night on Zoomer radio, and it got 77 WABC. But you know, I do a little bit each day on this thing. But I just wanted to tell you, you know, you can't find your answer sometimes. Oh, and I found this one guy said that it's possible when you're doing the bottom end calibration that your oscillator is really 455 below the frequency you're trying to receive, and the mixer will still take it. And that station is in the bottom is very strong. And I got my DX390 out, and I was trying to pick up the oscillator to see where I can't do it. It just doesn't want to see it. Now I should have got my frequency counter, but that's another trick it could be. You could be, instead of being 455 in frequency above the incoming signal, you could be below it, and the radio gets fooled and it still works. And that would mean below it would be, yeah, I'd have the ferrite be too far into the coil, and that's why I started worrying. I said, all right, I better rethink this all. So I brought the ferrite material out of the coil, knowing I would be higher in frequency, and then go in and set 820, 830, whatever this frequency is. When I'm doing a video, my dyslexia is like really bad with numbers, trying to remember exact model numbers and stuff. But I just wanted to tell you that this radio does a fairly good job on AM broadcast band. There's probably something out there that's better, but it's pretty damn good. I don't like this radio, so I'm giving it thumbs up on sensitivity on the AM broadcast band. And then on the second band, I have to calibrate that because it starts at 1620 or something like that, the next band, and it's getting 1600 at 1630. So that of course, you know, it's got to be calibrated. But just want to give you an idea, you know, this radio is not that bad. Also, this knob, I have it too far out from the chassis. And what happens is there's a light bulb back in here, or it's actually behind here, back here, and then it shines down. There's a blocking mechanism, so it lights this knob up. So this is like a veneer. It actually is a veneer. You can read two different places to remember. In other words, if you get receive a signal up on this, you write down the frequency you think you received, and then there's log numbers down here that you could put, and then it's 0 to 100, and then you put your log number down, and then the next night when you're looking for that station, you come down, you get as close as you can with the frequency, then you look on this knob, and you put the log number, and you move this till it hits that log number. Well, the light isn't coming down correctly and hitting the knob because the knob's too far forward. So that's another thing. There's so many adjustments on this radio. It's a real pain in the ass. And also my S meter doesn't, it zeros to 0, but it doesn't seem to show me any stations. I know my AVC's working. I know my noise limiter's working. Receive and standby is working. Yeah, I got so many things on this thing. as you get it working, you basically have to keep refining and fixing every little stupid thing that goes wrong with it. And when you go look on the internet, everybody has had the same problems. The S meter doesn't work right. And I've changed the capacitors. So it's something else. And yeah, I've changed the capacitors. All the contacts in the wafer switches, all of them, and the entire radio were black. And I had to go in with an eraser. And I cleaned them each individual contact with the eraser. And that's one of the eraser pencils I showed you. And I cut the pencil. I'll show you real quick again. One of these pencils. I got them on they're called Pink Pearl. And you notice the tip has been carved. And that's to get in spaces and clean each individual contact on all the switches. And you go read up on this radio, and you will find websites that are pretty good. One guy, he did so much work on this radio, and at the end he had no audio, and he gave up. But he has pictures and information, and see, I know it's really a tough radio. I sort of got lured into it because someone said it's probably the hardest radio to repair. Well, my problem wasn't that stuff that everybody else would have trouble with. I knew right away that I had a problem with all the capacitors in all the IF cans, in all the BFO cans. And you do bump into a guy on the internet in one of the groups says, I had to change every silver mica capacitor in the radio, in the cans. And so, you know, I took each one of them out. I showed you with my cap checker. That, you know, it's not a normal cap checker. It's not checking capacitance. There it is, leaky. I did a whole thing on this, and the schematic for this is up on Popular Electronics. And this tests the capacitor at more than 20 volts. It's testing it at I think about 175 volts DC. You know, there are guys that have kits out there and stuff, but when you're dealing with tube sets, when the capacitor is leaky, you lose signal. And if you test it with a transistorized cap checker, it's going to tell you it's good. Unless it's really leaky, then it'll show you, you know, the value will be way off. Let's just put it that way. So I built that cap checker. That's been a marvel. I mean, all my radios, the capacitors that you test the old way with voltage doesn't show up. You know, you're across the capacitor. You really can't see it when it's leaking some current. And the current messes up your Q and your coils. So I just want to update you on yes, this dial can be made very linear, very accurate. And it should be, because this radio, when it came out, it was between $250 and $275 back in 1947. So these radios should be, when you do get it all up and running, it should be something quite special. But some of the tech guys say that it's not really a great radio compared to some of the later ones that come out. Now, a guy in the comments section mentioned about the linearity that he has on a SX42, very similar circuit. So he's got something that got bumped. And see, I walk away from something, and then I keep thinking about it, and then I go reading, and I come back to it. And as you get older, as you're going back and forth with this, and this thing goes all the way around. So if you forget which way you turned it, or you're up near the point where it comes back around on itself, you're not going to know it. See, with this one, you're going to bottom out. You're going to know you can't go any further. Let's put it, maximum capacitance would be all the way tight. So now you know this won't do it because it's bottomed out. It's tight. With this will go around a second time. So yeah, all the combinations. The coil was probably too far in, and I was getting the second peak. Would that be a second peak? It'd be a second. It would be the image frequency. In other words, instead of the radio seeing What was I? What I say it was 80, 820 megacycles. It was receiving 820, but when you beat it with 455, I believe it's 1.135 meg. So what happens is if you're below, uh, your oscillator's running below by 455, it'll still get the station. And I'm pretty sure I was on that, and I tested for that. And then I sort of forgot. I didn't get the peak. I should have went and got the frequency counter. But a lot of it had to do with this capacitor. You know, see, I could probably put this back in and then dial in the station and I'd be done and it would be original. I could do that, but I'm going to leave one of these I put in. I'm going to put it in a little bit nicer. But I think that's it. All right, that's it.